Okay, so this turned into like a large like series of video, like a series of like 4 or 5 videos. So this is merely like the first one in that set, but it's a long form discussion per se, longer than I've seen other people go over. So that's kind of like why I allowed it to go into multiple parts. But at the end, if you want me to like go over like some of the issues that are here and what people are talking about in here, then I am willing to do that in another video or 6 if you want to. Just kind of like leave a comment, like leave a like to let me know that you want to kind of see like more of this discussion and what people are talking about in here and kind of the details that people are going into and possibly some of the inaccuracies that they raise as issues. Anyway, yeah, on to the actual meat and potatoes. Okay, so everybody's been talking about this web and environment integrity framework thing from basically Google, being as these are the authors of it. So I wanted to go through it myself, and I don't think many people have like played devil's advocate for siding with it. And there are a couple arguments that I think I could make that would explain why they think this way, but they largely disagree. So like disclaimer, it may sound like I agree with what's laid out here, but I disagree with the idea of it because we really don't need it. And I will kind of explain why is one other thing I want to do is explain why we don't really need it and where that kind of integrity really needs to sit. So going over the table of contents, there are a few interesting things to note. So first, they go over the goals, non-goals, like use cases, and then kind of how it works. Now, the challenges and threats to address is what's interesting. So, like quality of attesters, tracking users' browsing history. So, when you're going over the table of contents, this becomes very like concerning because you don't want your browsing history tracked by whoever you are connecting to. Really, that browsing history is not the business of the server that you're connecting to. Like, why do they need to see your browsing history? It sounds like it kind of like you're peering into like what I'm doing when you don't need to. You're trying to verify that I'm a human, but you're doing it in a very, very intrusive way. Then you've got fingerprinting, and then cross-site tracking. So, like, we've already got a lot of cross-site trackers already. I don't see why we need more. But this could also be addressing, like, how cross-site tracking can mess with the integrity of the environment and things like that. So, we'll get down to it. I haven't really read over this document at all as of yet. I've kind of been saving it for this moment and savoring it. Because there are going to be various things that are going to play into it, and it makes sense from a corporate endpoint, but when it comes to a privacy standpoint as a user, which is like 99% of people, a lot of this won't make sense. Let's see, considered alternatives, extension of the Fetch API, privacy pass, private access tokens. We've already got some of that token stuff going on, but anyway. How you'll prevent this signal from being used to exclude vendors, hold back, things like that. So, other entities have made, like Vivaldi, Brave, and Mozilla have made statements about vendors, excluding vendors, and how it affects the open web with this web environment integrity. And, well, how web views can be affected as well, they go over. But when you have a standard and you start to say, this is the standard we want to implement, then it becomes an issue. And Google, in large part, has like driven the web standard, web standard for like the last decade. Ever since Google Chrome came out, which was when I was in high school, they have slowly taken the market share because people aren't use Internet Explorer or used Internet Explorer now for the longest time to install Google Chrome, and Google Chrome has become kind of the de facto that everyone relies on, to the point that even Edge is based on Chromium. So Chromium-based browsers are now in large part the standard, and Google drives the Chromium, the engine behind Chromium. So them doing this basically ensures that they get the grand market share of browsing because they run a lot of the web. So then they get into feedback and things like that. I've looked at a couple videos on like the comments and things about this, and I don't plan on going too into them. If you want to see that, then leave a comment and that kind of thing, and I might go into it. So the introduction. Let's see, users often depend on websites trusting the client environment they run in. So this is the user end. They trust the client, the web browser that they are running or accessing the website in, because likely they installed it, or it was the client that came installed on their system. This trust may assume that the client environment is honest about certain aspects of itself, keeps user data and intellectual property secure, and is transparent about whether or not a human is using it. This trust is the backbone of the open internet, critical for the safety of user data and the sustainability of the website's business. So people kind of blatantly look at their data, and they either, and if they're using Google Chrome, then they're probably syncing it to a server, a lot of that data. So it really becomes an aspect of they're trusting that the developer of the browser, if they're just using Google Chrome, which is Google, is keeping their data safe, and that intellectual property secure. And also in large part, a good portion of the people that use the internet, what kind of intellectual property do they really have that is not being sold off? Like, their data that is being collected is being sold. So is it really being kept secure? So some examples of the scenarios where users depend on client trust include users like visiting websites that are expensive to create and maintain. So like CNN, YouTube, Twitch, but they often want or need to do it without paying directly. These websites fund themselves with ads, but the advertisers can only afford to pay for humans to see the ads, rather than robots. This creates a need for human users to prove to websites that they're human, sometimes through tasks like challenges or logins. So this argument is basically, we don't want our numbers to be inflated. So we want to pay for actual eyeballs on our ads. So we need you to ensure that the person that's viewing it is actually human. Now, this also creates can we also limit people who are blocking our ads, who are intentionally avoiding being eyeballs on our advertisements, from accessing the content that you're trying to drive? Because then that helps us make money off of you. You make more money because we're paying you for that ad space. And then you don't have to deal with the cost of the traffic involved with that person visiting your site, because they didn't want to see our ads that we pay for you to host. And yeah, it's the idea of the environment that they're in. We don't want robots to see it. We want actual humans to see it, because humans are what's going to buy our stuff. If robots see it, they're not likely to buy our stuff. I mean, if they are a bot that is out there buying stuff on the cheap and then selling it for a higher price, that's a different story. But for the most part, we're looking for humans to buy it. So we want to ensure that they're human and do it very badly. Users want to know they are interacting with real people on social websites, but bad actors often want to promote posts with fake engagement. For example, to promote products or make news stories seem even more important, websites can only show users that content is popular with real people if websites are able to know the difference between a trusted and untrusted environment. So this is the view botting thing. Streamers want to know that they're actually being watched by real people, because it sucks to have like that number go up or see that number of users in your chat but have no actual viewers. So Twitch in large part has a system like this because you can see all the bots in there, but they don't count as, aren't seen as viewers. And you also want to know that your posts are actually being engaged upon by real people. You want real people to see your post so that you know you're popular. Not that it's artificial, apparently. Because they can make posts artificially trending, but that doesn't ensure the integrity of it. Now, how does like ensuring that like certain posts are actually promoted by real people ensure that the company running the social media site is not using those bad actors themselves to pump up certain things that they want? You want people to actually see your post, but is the social media site pumping this post up for whatever reason and artificially inflating it? So this kind of, in a lot of ways, goes against Google's MO, especially with some of the other sites like YouTube, because now all of a sudden promoted posts have to be organic, but then you've got to like remove the organic nature of it if you don't want certain things to show up. Which, why are you proposing this then if you want to be able to manipulate things, but you want to claim that you are ensuring the integrity of the environment of the client that is visiting your service? Users playing a game on a website want to know whether other players are using software that enforces the game rules. We've already got this. It's called anti-cheat. It installs itself as a driver, as a rootkit on your system, and ensures that they are playing by the rules. We've already like done this, and you can see the cat and mouse game that's going on in gaming. Like, using this example is really, really bad, and either one shows that they don't pay attention, or two are talking to stakeholders that are very ignorant of the gaming scene and how cheaters actually get around. Because if they implement something like web integrity, there's gonna be a way to get around it. Online games are proof of that. Even with the anti-cheat and everything else, there are still methods that people use to get to bypass it. So next, finally, users sometimes get tricked into installing malicious software that imitates software like their banking apps. To steal from those users, the bank's internet interface could protect those users if it could establish that the requests it's getting actually come from the banks or other trustworthy software. So this one is interesting because many banks already implement such systems via certificate authorities. So you are saying that the user wants to ensure it, but they've been given all the tools that they need to ensure it. And yet you're saying you need to layer more things on top of it to ensure it. If the real thing is, if users were trained or taught how do I say it? If users were taught how to identify malicious or counterfeit banking software or other secure like websites, then more of that malicious imitations would be mitigated from. The issue is not so much that we don't have it in something in place already. It's more that we already have it in place. It's the ignorance of the users that is the weak link. It's always the human side. You like 99% of the time, it's the human side of things that's the weaker link here, not the software that is being used. If I were to go, I can go and visit a site and I can look at, oh, just right now here at GitHub, connection secure. I can see who it's verified by. I can look at more information about the certificate. Like I visit, so I can see the encryption that it's using. Before over the internet. I mean, view certificate. It's not like we don't have the stuff already. We can verify everything already. Location, entity that registered it, what it is. Like, we've got the stuff. It's a matter of being ignorant of how to look at it and read it and understand it that becomes the issue. And yes, there are very, very good imitations, but again, we can still have the tools to verify it and to teach others how to verify it as well. So putting on another layer doesn't help. It just sounds like another method of control to get around it. It sounds nice, and that's the big thing, is it sounds nice that, oh, the user can trust this, and this is a layer that helps the user know that the environment they're in is trustworthy. But this also is like, it tells the website that the client that's connecting to it is trustworthy, which makes sense, but this is a bad implementation of it. The trust relationship between websites and clients is frequently established through the collection and interpretation of highly identifiable information. However, the signals that are considered essential for these safety use cases can also serve as a near unique fingerprint that can be used to track users across sites without their knowledge or control. We would like to explore whether a lower entropy mechanism, web environment integrity, could help address these use cases with better privacy respecting properties. This coming from Google is very, very ironic, being with the number of trackers that they have in Android phones and the like. They're saying they want to help your privacy by adding more safety things so that you are tracked less. So what this is, it ensures corporate entities have your stuff and know that you are you and that they are them connecting to this system. And it still creates a fingerprint that they can use to track where you're at across clients because of the way that you do things and the way you interact with it. You logging into an account here on this system is gonna trip a different ID and fingerprint than when you log in onto a different system. And so they're gonna know have an idea of the kind of systems that you're logging into from place to place anyway. How it mitigates privacy, I'm not sure what you're trying to do. The other thing is it becomes an issue of controlling things to where it's like, well, now we have verified the integrity of the environment on the system, which is what anti-cheat already does, before they connect to our servers. So from a security standpoint, I can see why you want to ensure that every system that's connecting to it has a certain integrity, because a host system that is connecting to your server may have viruses and certain exploits that are being used on the system that as they visit your website, it could cause issues for your system. Like if I have a machine that is infected by a remote access Trojan or something else that allows a person to run remote commands on my system without my knowledge, then it allows them to also manipulate the traffic that is going back and forth between my system. And whether a web environment integrity system would be able to notice that and mitigate that threat is yet to be seen. But you want to ensure the integrity of that system so that no injection can happen while someone is in a legitimate session. There are better ways to do it, but this is a method that they seem to be proposing, is that, hey, we want to ensure that the client and the whole machine that is connecting to your server is safe and secure for you so that they can't run anything, there can't be anything malicious run from their end that can infect you and thereby, what's the word? That way they can't exploit your system as well. So an attacker can't bounce off of their legitimate system into your server and thereby exploit your internal system and escalate and exfiltrate information from your system that is supposed to be secure. So this is going to be a multi-parter because we're only through the introduction. So I'm trying to knock this out of my list of tabs again. So I guess look forward to the next bits. Yeah. If you enjoyed the video, then like, comment, subscribe, feed the algorithm, boost the video up, share this video with your friends. If you found it informative or you just want to chat, I've got plenty of places in the description, Discord, Guilded, and what have you. Check those out, and I will see you guys in the next one.